All right.
So, Tony, I'm going to say my blurb. You know how the show goes, and then I will introduce you. Tony Durso. Tony Durso. Good?
Excellent.
Welcome to the Go Legal Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Attorney Kelly Bagger, the Queen of Business Law. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Tony Durso. Tony is the host of the Tony Durso Show. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Kelly, thank you so much for having me on your Go Legal Yourself show. It's quite an honor to be interviewed by you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Wow, right out of the gate, huh? You're definitely someone that inspires many people that are doing what you're doing today. I have cleverly titled our episode to podcast or not, right? That took some thinking.
I like that. That's wonderful because that really is a big point, especially with the events of last year. Should you podcast? Should you go down this road? What does it take? So many have failed, and I'll tell you more about that in this episode. That's a great title.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have to ask you before we start, could you share a joke or an inspirational quote with our listeners?
Sure, Kelly. I used to tell a lot of jokes. That was before I podcasted. And now things are different. Quotes and what people say are more important. And I'm going to give you a quote that that was a takeaway from watching a movie on TV when I was a kid. I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old. It was about Romans and fighting and whatever. And there was one quote said throughout the movie, which was, "All roads lead to Rome." And believe it or not, I have used that to create my little empire here, I call it, and build a great audience. And I will tell you how I use that quote in this interview.
I can't wait, Tony, because you are one of the podcast hosts that has 10 million downloads. I'm going to say that again. 10 million downloads. That's incredible. And I'm assuming you didn't start at the age of 5, did you?
Not on podcasting, no.
That's incredible, Tony. Before you share that journey, you were thinking about doing something at the age of 5, right? You and I have that in common. At the age of 5, I knew, okay, I wanted to be a lawyer. Don't ask me what that term was. I have no idea. But ever since then, I always knew, okay, I want to pursue law. What did you want to do when you were at the age of 5?
I had absolutely no idea at all whatsoever all of my life until about 6 years ago what I really wanted to do. But then I've done a lot. What I did at 5, I was very focused, was I was a newspaper boy on the freezing cold Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. That's right off of Lake Michigan. I think it's one of the coldest places in the world because the wind chill factor can get to like minus 117 degrees below zero. And here I am delivering newspapers for 10 years. Go figure. So that was what was on my mind. And I thought that was my current career for a while.
At the age of 5, you poor thing. I can picture you, right, with your mittens on and your gloves and your hat and your jacket. You poor thing.
Uh,
But what did that teach you, though?
You know, it taught me, believe it or not, Kelly, it taught me the value of a dollar, and it taught me what it takes to make money and earn money. I respect money. I respect what I get. I look at it not frivolously, even when and though I may have tons of it, I don't squander it. I use it. I help friends. I put on events, charitable events, and so forth. But to me, a dollar still has a great value because I know what it takes to make that dollar. And back then, I think the pay was just a couple bucks a week. That was it. But that was valuable, getting up at 4:30 in the morning every day, delivering papers 7 days a week. That's brutal stuff. But it really got me, it really ingrained in me, I believe, a very excellent work ethic.
Take us through your journey of your entrepreneurial life.
Sure. Well, 5 to 14, I delivered newspapers, and I was on this. The newspapers would go in this giant cart, by the way, a two-wheeled, big, huge cart. The wheels were almost as tall as I was, just to give you a thing. And some of the days I couldn't push that cart myself because there were too many papers. So I worked and got my brothers to help me until I think I was about 8, where I could then commandeer this cart, except on, special days, like, the newspapers weigh 10 pounds each or whatever. And I did that to 14. And then from 14 to 19, or 15 and 19, somewhere in there, I did fast food. And when I did that, I did fast food part-time. I went to school during the day, and I did flip burgers and cooked food and stuff like that. And when I landed that job, I gladly dumped newspapers. And up until then, see, my family, my dad's was the sole income earner. My mom had 6 boys. She had her hands full. So every week the money went to her. Well, when I was 14 and I got into fast food, I then told my mom, I said, from now on, I'm going to cover myself, because I was making, I don't remember. It was like $1.15 an hour or something like that. I said, from now on, I'm going to cover everything. So I bought all my clothes, shoes, school books, everything and anything. I survived on my own income. Of course, the parents, provided dinners periodically and stuff like that. And I was, in a way, that kind of free or emancipated, if you want to say. I did that to 19. And then in 19, you're going to laugh, I got a corporate job as a typist. Now, Kelly, I've never typed, I never typed one keystroke in my life up to then. I never touched a typewriter. I never had a typewriter, but I knew what a typewriter was. And I was like, oh, a typist job, I can do this. But it wasn't a trick, because I went to the library and I got a book and I self-taught myself on how to type, literally. And I became the fastest typist in the company, typing like 120 words per minute, which is like
Wow.
really super freaking fast. And I did that. And then I did like 32 years, I think, in corporate, working heavily in marketing, public relations, promotion, lead generation. And I got the opportunity to start my own job. I believe we're in the year 2007 now. And I got the opportunity to start my own company doing what I was doing for a job. In a job, I mean, I'm making 6 figures. I was the vice president of sales and marketing. But when you're working for a corporation, depending if it's public and stocks or whatever, there's a limit to how much income you can make as a VP. There just is. You're kind of capped. And I thought this was a great opportunity to just be unfurled, and just
Right.
the sky's the limit. So I took the opportunity and I formed my own lead generation company. And I ran that for 7 years. And it went well. But in that 7-year period, Kelly, there were 4 major regulations, rules, federal protocols that changed the way we did business, to the point where it brought my business down on its knees 4 times in 7 years. Give you an example. I go into my office one day on a Monday, and one of my clients, I was doing $1 million a year in sales on just one client, and I had multiple clients, and they canceled. Why? What happened? Well, a new federal regulation came in. The attorneys got together and decided and realized that they could no longer accept marketing services the way they were. They had to shut that down and retool. And so it went for my other clients, and it just brought me down to my knees again. I got tired of this, Kelly. And I thought, what can I do that I can control? And I don't care about federal regulations and rules. I apply and follow all the rules, but what can I better control in my own hand? And I looked for something I could do, Kelly. And I looked and looked, and I kept hearing this word called podcast. And I thought, what is this podcast? And when I found out, it was like, hey, I can do this. I'm Italian. I can talk. I can do this.
You were born in Sicily, weren't you?
I was born in Sicily, and I grew up in Chicago, which is what you call it outside of the city. But if you're inside the city, it's Chicago. Every so often, my Chicago comes out.
The true Italian.
True Italian.
Yes.
Just make it, just wing it, do it, push, persevere, and just be successful at it. So I started live blog talk radio. And I didn't know anybody, Kelly. My business, I didn't know world famous people, millionaires, billionaires like I do now. I had zero audience. I knew zero about radio, but just like in typing, I knew I could do it. So I got myself a mentor to help me, a world famous, world class radio announcer helped me, and I just started learning. And I took a speaking class with Toastmasters because there's a whole level of you can talk, but speaking and being able to interface, there's a whole level. And unless you get there with public speaking classes and training, you may not necessarily know what I mean, but there's a whole level there. So I wanted to raise my ability to speak and communicate on a live radio professional basis, which I'm very pleased I did. And my show took off, Kelly. It took off. It took off. And then it was called Revenue Chat Radio. And I interviewed the entrepreneurs. And then I was invited to join Voice America. They were starting a new channel called the Influencers Channel. And want to say I had 1 million or so downloads in about a 2-year period by that time. And so they kind of entertained with me to join them, and which I did. And by the end of that year, I was the #1 show on the Influencers Channel.
Of course you were, Tony.
Of course.
Of course you was.
And fast forward now, 5 years later, I am their #1 show on their entire network, several years running. Last month, we hit and surpassed 10 million downloads. And I'm rubbing elbows now with millionaires, billionaires, Jeff Hoffman, Priceline, Wesley Snipes, Frank Shankwitz, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Kevin Harrington, Shark Tank. It just goes on and on and on. I just had Jack Canfield on my show. It just goes, Chicken Soup of the Soul series. It just goes on and on, talking and interviewing elite entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, and very successful people in their industry, just like you, Kelly. And, and I'll tell you the drive, I'll tell you the purpose behind it. Your audience, whoever's listening, you're a businessman, you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur, you may be in a career. And you want to naturally, I believe, do better, be better, grow, help take care of your family better. And Kelly, you, I, and every person in your audience, we literally cannot read everybody's book, listen to everybody's podcast, go to everybody's seminar, go to everybody's webinar, take everybody's class. We just can't. It's just not enough time. I've got webinars that I want to go to. Tomorrow, I've got a 5-hour mastermind. I've been invited. I would love to go. But my schedule, I've done 6, 7, or 8 interviews this week, and I've got other events. It's just not always possible. So my show, what I do is I try to bring very hard some of the most successful people in the world, and I bring that to my audience so that you can learn from the success of others. You can get the advice, wisdom, guidance. What are their best routines? What do they do that they feel was part of their success? What books do they like? I really kind of get into their mind and stuff, and my audience just loves it. And, thank God that it's growing because of that drive and purpose.
Where do I start, Tony? You are such an inspiration. You're absolutely the perfect role model for my listeners. My listeners are fantastic, right? They're not just based here nationally in the US, they're based internationally too. So that's one of the beauties about having a podcast. Your voice, you can be heard from anywhere in the world, anywhere. But you have the traits of what makes a successful person successful, right? You say yes, and then you figure it out. Have you heard of Grant? His name is Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone. Have you listened to his book called the 10X Rule?
I am very, very familiar with it. I have not listened to the book. Grant Cardone and several others are what I call a secret mentor. They don't
Right.
even know how much they helped me grow my business. I have grown so much by being the shadow for people like John Lee Dumas, Lewis Howes, Grant Cardone. I watch, you know, just just 2 months ago, maybe I changed my Twitter profile because of what I saw on Grant Cardone's. And this is just a little tip for you. Grant Cardone, this guy's a multi-zillionaire. He's got people that do marketing. If he puts something on his Twitter profile and changes it up and starts the first word, I've been watching, he's changed them. I haven't seen what it is today. It could have changed, but sometimes his Twitter profile starts, the first thing says dad. He gets really personal. So I changed myself, you know, I, I changed my profile because Grant Cardone has put a lot of money and he's got brilliant people who work his profile. He doesn't do it himself. So I mirror what they do and go, well, there's wisdom in this. Why did he say he's a dad and a husband and this? Why? And I really get it into my head and I go, I get it. And then I duplicate that in a way. So I highly recommend a secret mentor.
Definitely, Grant. Definitely. I was introduced to him about a couple of weeks ago to his books, and I've been listening to his the 10x rule. If anyone is interested in listening to some really earth-shaking, motivation, right? This is the book for them to listen to, and you can read it. Absolutely, pick it up and read it. But the way, because he's the one that narrates the book, and the way his voice comes across, it's as if you're sitting next to him or he's sitting across from you. And he's basically saying to you, listen, dude, if you want to change your life, do this, this, and this. Don't be ordinary. Don't be a follower, right? It gets your blood going and it gives you goosies, right, Tony? And
Gooses, I like that.
goosies, absolutely. I love everything that he says. And I was sharing this with my husband. I said, oh my God, I'm going to download this book for you. You're going to absolutely love him. And he goes, oh, he sounds like us, he sounds like our people. Because obviously in the privacy of our homes, right, we're more intimate with our spouses and girlfriend and boyfriend and what have you. And my husband, this is the way I am with you on the show right now. I mean, my energy level, my excitement, because I'm talking about entrepreneurship, right, Tony? This is exactly how I am with him too. And sometimes I'm like bouncing out of my seat because it's so exciting. And what you did exactly what Grant said. Say yes, and then go figure it out later on, right? Say yes to everything and go figure it out. And you don't want to be, as far as I know, I could be mistaken, I don't know, but as far as I know, we only have one life that we're living currently. Whatever happens after this, we don't know. If it's another one, fantastic, go after that one too. But for right now, entrepreneurs, they have a completely different mindset. We do not live for the 9 to 5 job, right? We don't follow the masses. We reach for the stars, and then once you grab a star, you want to reach for the next star. This is who we are. This is what we do. And for you, Tony, to get to 1 million downloads in 2 years, and now you're down to 10 million. That's not a small number. And podcasting, how did you say, okay, well, I'm going to start my own show and I'm going to start podcasting? And not only that, Tony, you are a best-selling author, right? You check the box of everything that a successful entrepreneur is or should be. How did you get to your such a wide range of reach to people? How did you do that? What were the basics?
I'm going to answer that, but I wanted to let you know that one thing that keeps me going when I look at my secret mentors, I truly think, unfortunately, that my 10 million downloads is absolutely nothing. I look at John Lee Dumas, who last year he was at 40 million, and the excuse me, and the year before, Lewis Howes was at 25 million. So when I look at what they're doing, my millions is insignificant. It may look like a lot, but I'm like, I've got more to go. There, the thing is, these gentlemen, they are doing it. 40 million downloads,
But
100
Tony, I
million.
have to I have to interject. I have to stop you right there, because 10 million isn't anything to kind of you know, look down upon. It's not at all what you have achieved. Even the first minute, you know how many podcasters there are out there? You probably know there's millions of them. Everyone has an idea. Everybody wants to share their thoughts. Everybody wants to talk about something. But for you, and this is coming from another podcaster, right? I started podcasting probably about 3 years ago and really got into it this last year. And I'm not doing too bad, you know. Tony, we're in 23 countries. The show has gone international, right? And and I'm getting more downloads as well every week. But the fact that you have reached 10 million, congratulations, that's huge. You should celebrate that. And again, you're an entrepreneur. You're not going to stop there. You're going to keep reaching for the next star. But how? How did you get so many downloads?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kelly. You humble me. There's a word in the dictionary. Most podcasters do 7, 8, 9, 10 shows and stop. The word in the dictionary is called pod fade. 2 years ago, Blueberry said 75% of the podcasters the year before disappeared. Now it's like 85 or even more, even though there's more podcasters. There's a hurdle. And I've just started reviewing, doing a little thing where I review other podcasters and help them. And I do that. It's not on my website, but it's just something that I do separate. But what I did is I used the all roads lead to Rome philosophy, if you want to call it, that I saw in a movie when I was 5, 6, or 7 years old. When I was in doing university at Laverne, and I paid my way through university, and or supported myself and ran my business. I got the TonyDurso.com domain, and I started getting really serious about bringing people to me. Social media wasn't very much. And I just, when I came up with something, it's a mistake that I see, that I believe, is when someone comes up with a book, a course, a class, anything, they create another URL for it. And that's logical. But you're bifurcating, you're diluting all of your audience. So what I started to do was, if I came up with a book, it was at TonyDurso.com. I came up with a podcast, it's at TonyDurso.com. And I started putting everything there, because you're cross marketing yourself, and everything leads to you and what you have. And I got it up to, it took a couple years, 1 million visitors a year to my domain. But
Wow.
it's because you generate and funnel everything to your one site. There's probably a class or a training in that, but there it is in simplicity. Just start bringing everything to your site. And when you market, people that come to my website to see a podcast get introduced to my books. People that come to my website because of my books see my podcast, and so on. And it's just, cross marketing is very important. And it's so much easier today with social media. It's crazy simple, easy. I'm not sure if that answered all of your questions just yet. Would you like to ask anything more on that?
Yes, I would actually. I think I might have taken a page out of your book, Tony, because even though I have my law firm, that's completely separate from this company, this business that I'm doing. The book that I wrote, the very first book that I wrote, is called Go Legal Yourself. That's what the book's called. Then I thought, well, I'm giving them the information. I need to provide them with the tools. So I created golegalyourself.com. And then I said, well, how do I share passionate stories just like you, Tony? How do I share passionate stories about entrepreneurs? Because I know, especially in this day and age, there are more people starting their own businesses. It always happens, Tony. It always happens during crisis time, during the pandemic, during the crash, right? Everything, something great always comes out of a disaster. And there are more people now starting businesses. So they want to know, how do I start? where do I go? And information, right? They listen to podcasts now. When I'm walking my dogs, anytime I'm waiting for a meeting or I'm walking my dogs, Tony, I'm listening to a book, right? I'm listening to a podcast. But I never ever, I'm going to be completely honest with you now, right? This is just between you and me. Just between you and me. I had never even heard of what a podcast was when I first started with a podcast. I never even heard, let alone tune into one or listen to one before I started my own. And that's also called Go Legal Yourself. So excited about my second edition. My book has just come out. It's called Go Legal Yourself, right? So absolutely, I took a page out of your book, and all roads lead to Go Legal Yourself.
Good job. Good job. That will start growing. That absolutely will start growing and build and build. And it's just get the idea of roads or rivers and tributaries and streams, either way, just all leading and going to one place.
What was Give me an example of, or share a story of one of your hardest challenges that you, as an entrepreneur, came across, didn't know what to do, and then overcame it.
I think I'm going to shock everybody. In my second year, I believe, where I was doing revenue chat radio, and I was just starting a second show on the Voice America Influencers channel, somebody somewhere started hacking me. Perhaps I was a training class in somebody's training class to go hack a rich American capitalist, or who knows what. I'm just joking, because I wasn't a rich American capitalist at the time, and I'm still not, I don't believe. But I was somebody's pet project. And my website started disappearing on my domain. My shows started disappearing, pictures, paragraphs. It was a cat and mouse game for 3 months. I didn't know what was going on. I thought something was failing. I would put stuff up and it would disappear. And it got so bad, Kelly, that, believe it or not, it just brought me down to my knees. It just brought, if I could have cried, I would have. And I literally decided, I thought about, didn't decide, but I thought about literally several times, I'm just going to throw in the towel and do something else, because this is crazy. I lost everything. My whole website, my shows, everything disappeared, Kelly. It was very, very bad. And I went over with my wife. I was like, maybe I should just go out and go get a job. This is just, what do I do? It was very frustrating trying to figure out what was even going on. I wasn't even sure what was going on. And my wife said to me something very simple. She said, Tony, you just built it all. You know this stuff. You can build it again. And I said, you're right. And I did, and I built it again. And the next year I got hacked again. My domain got stolen, where people going to TonyDurso.com went to somebody selling junk. My millions of followers were going different places. Again, I got hacked. I think I've been hacked 3 or 4 times. Things disappeared. My emails all of a sudden don't work. Just shut off, and the ISPs can't figure it out. I mean hacked. And it's been really bad. And it's been about 3 or 4 times in 5 years. And there've been it's been very embarrassing. People go to my site and they get sold drugs or something stupid. But I persevered. Because I've already built it and I know how to build it. And each time, instead of getting mad or upset, even though sometimes it takes a month to find out that where are my people going? What's happening? It takes time when some of these. And yet when you're strong on your purpose, when you're strong on what you want to do, you can just redo it. So, but those were challenging. I'm serious. Those were some of the worst times of my life.
I can't even imagine, Tony, the hard work, the heartbreaking. I don't have a technical bone in my body. I really don't, right? So I rely on my IT specialist. I have to give a shout out to him. His name is Bhavin Mehta, and he is with Fusion Factor Corporation. I love that organization. Absolutely love it, because Anytime I need them, anytime, because emailing is my life, right? If something goes down with that, it's like, oh, who do I call? What do I do? And so they are always there. They always immediately respond to any inquiries that I have. Fantastic. But you learn, right? You learn to set up these protections. You and I was just talking to my husband the other day, right? I talk to my husband a lot, by the way.
That's a
And
very good thing, by the way.
it
Just little commercial break. I've been with my wife 28, 29 years this coming December, and I go over all major things with her, all
yes,
major decisions, just like quitting my show. So it's very important to have a spouse that you can go to and just say whatever you want. So I think that's great, and I love your
absolutely.
husband, by the way. And just full disclosure for the audience, I do know Kelly. I've met her at her book release event a couple years ago, and her family, and just great people.
Thank you so much, Tony. I look forward to meeting your missus. Absolutely look forward to 29 years. That's pretty incredible. One of my clients, he's a retired, decorated veteran, and he was a fighter pilot. And he's in his 80s now, and he's so proud of being married for, what is it? I think it's 42 years he's been married. 42 years. And so that's something to be proud of, absolutely proud of. Well done. You know, you talk. I was talking to my husband the other day, and I was saying to him, I said, it's amazing how I've sort of transformed, right, over the years. And it's that mentality. It's, yes, I can do it. Say yes and then figure it out. Say yes and figure it out. That's exactly what you've done, Tony. Absolutely. It's brilliant. But tell me more about your podcast. Obviously, where can people hear it? Anywhere, probably, where they listen to podcasts, they can download the podcast.
My podcast is just about everywhere podcasts are played. And the easiest, simple way is TonyDurso.com/podcast. And you can see all the shows. In fact, we just finished a major project because I've, been at Revenue. I did a Revenue Chat Radio, and then I did Insure Suite. Insure Suite is not the right name. Excuse me. Voice America with the Influencers channel, and so on and so forth. And now we have actually put all my shows in one place. So the only place in the world to find all shows, and it's backed up on the server, is is TonyDurso.com/podcast. And we just put our shows all the way back down to episode number 1 from 5 years ago. It's quite something. It's quite a, what's the word, a repository of all my shows. So that's the easy way and the simple way, because you can play it right there from the browser too.
That's brilliant. And we are obviously going to have your information as part of our show notes. So the listeners can go directly. So I do have an app, I've got to brag about that a little bit, Tony, right? I've got the Go Legal Yourself app, and you can get it. I know, he's clapping right now. And you can go to anywhere to download the app, and you can actually contact any of my prior guests, contact the show, contact me directly from the app. So all of your information is going to be part of our show notes. I'm excited to share your episode and your story with my listeners. It's so uplifting. It's, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does, right? That it's part of life. But the ones that learn from those mistakes, those are the ones that are going to go even further than they actually think they can go. Your mind is a brilliant instrument, absolutely brilliant. If you limit it, that's all it's going to know. But if you open it up and you reach for the stars, right, and then you reach for the next star, you're going to impress yourself, absolutely impress yourself. And the way I've sort of made myself, better every time I've come across a mistake or a challenge, right? It's really impressive, Tony, and you've done that for yourself too.
Thank you. I'm humbled. I just look at it as just hard work, sweat, and I have three wise words that are behind everything. I mean, I have my purpose and my vision. I know where I want to go, but there's three not quite 3 words. There's 3 little statements, and that is keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And that's how it is, because I didn't fall off a log and all of a sudden 10 million, but I know where I'm going, and I'm looking at, my next goal, my next ramp up is I want to start getting closer to 1 million listeners per show. Right now, I'm just hovering just around or just below 100,000 listeners downloads per weekly show. And I am looking at, well, there you go with the Grant Cardone 10X. I'm looking at what is, getting to 1 million. And by the way, little quick thing on Grant Cardone. I was in, Facebook limits you to 5,000 people. I was in his 5,000 people way back when. And to this day, he still answers my messages personally. I mean, I've known him. I've never met him, but I've known him for a while. And I watch him, and he's inspirational. And I highly recommend, checking out his stuff just as you have. It's good stuff.
Tony, I would be indebted to you if I could get Grant on this podcast, on the Go Legal Yourself podcast. I would be so indebted to you.
That's a little tough. I won't say no. He made
say
today
yes
go,
and figure it out later. Come on, this is what Grant's taught you.
He's only known 1 billion people now, and for all I haven't checked last year. I mean, I haven't checked to see if I'm still in his top 5,000. But for all I know, he'll say, Tony, who, what? So we'll see.
but Grant said, right, this is what you can put in your message to him, right? Grant said in his 10X rule book, he said he wants to get to know 7 billion people. And it starts with me. Tell him.
Well, he's marked me off his list already.
But I think he would be fantastic. And just people like him, people like Grant and Tony Robbins and people that speak from the heart, Tony, that's what really inspires, right? It's a catalyst. I call him the catalyst to starting your own life on the right path, whatever that path is.
Sure. I'll make it very easy, and I'll do a very simple, gracious favor for you. Go to TonyDurso.com/podcast, scroll down the list. And if you see anybody there, oh, I'd love to interview this person. Oh, I'd love to interview that person. I'll introduce you to anybody in my podcast line, my podcast repertoire.
You're a giver. You're an absolute giver, and fantastic and wonderful things come back to givers, Tony. That's why I was so excited to have you on the show. When you said yes, Kelly, for you, yes, I was humbled too. I was extremely humbled. And now our listeners are going to go directly to Tony, DURSO.com. Tony, DURSO.com. I was on that site. I was playing around with it and be ordering a couple of books. And, because of these times, Tony, I would love to do another book signing. I'm so excited about this second edition that's out right now. And I've got to figure out somehow, for us to get together again and so you can meet the husband again. And he's, mille, he's marine buddies and good times, right? We had good times.
Yes, we did. I miss the old days where we could go out with impunity, walk down the street, buy flowers, go to a coffee shop, get a latte, get whatever. I miss those days. I want those days back. And yes, let's do it. And we can always do it at a Zoom. I just did a summit last week. I was the co-host and MC, and I promoted it. We had nearly 800 registrants.
Wow.
Last week show up, and it was for one of my good friends, another podcaster, and he released a book, and we had a zillion people show up. It was really a lot of fun, but it's always more fun in person.
That's fantastic. It is. It truly is. Yes, and for the listeners, because I like to send out information that is pertinent to entrepreneurs, business owners, someone that wants to start a business, that grow a business, and important events such as the one that you just put out, a summit. So for the listeners, go to golegalyourself.com and subscribe to the email. And that way you also will be first in line to get any of these, brilliant notices, press releases, events that are coming up. I would love for you to share any of your events with me, and I'll send them through to my listeners as well, Tony.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Yes, I will do that. I'll absolutely let you know of events, and I appreciate you sharing. Kelly, you're a very good person. You know, you've got this essence, the essence of Kelly, and it's great.
Thank you. Tony, before I let you go, because seriously, I could talk to you for another 2 days. I really could, right? But before I let you go, I have to ask you one more question. If you could do it, yes.
We forgot to mention the most exciting thing in my life right now. If there's
Share
a
with me.
second.
Absolutely.
I just released a new book with my co-author SKR. It's a fiction book because we need to take a break. We need to just get our minds out of work because, if you didn't have a distraction and you just worked every day 10, 12 hours, and I've done that, you just kind of get burnt out or whatever, get tired in your mind. You just get tired. This is a fiction book called The Hymen of Atlantis. First volume is called Bitten, Bitten. It's available on it's available on Amazon now, and it's a really great read about Atlantis and what happened back then. It's a fiction story. It's, there may be some true things in there, but it's a fiction story, and it's just a good break. And you can find it at tonydurso.com. Click on books. And I just wanted to mention that we're very excited about this. I'm not asking you to read it. I'm not asking anybody to buy it, but I'm asking you to tell me how you like it. I would love feedback on this book. Some people, and so there you go. I don't know how much more time we have, but I just wanted to say that I'm very excited about it. As you can tell, I'm Italian. It's okay.
Congratulations on that. I know, as a fellow author, Tony, I know the hard work that goes into putting any book together. And yes, you want the listeners to read it. And yes, you want them to give you an Amazon review, right? Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. We'll jump on that as soon as this episode is released. But that one question before I go, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
What year do I go back to?
Any year.
Well, do I still have my memory? Because I would buy Microsoft, I would buy Apple, I would buy Cisco. Believe it or not, I love enjoy conversations and people. And I thank God for giving me that gift, that quality. I would do public events where I talk to people about themselves and how to reach up and reach out. I would do inspirational things, not like Tony Robbins, but maybe like that in a way. I would, because that's where I feel I'm going. And I would do, podcasting or radio would be another thing. I love reaching out to people and talking and helping them. As I said earlier, a person cannot do everything themselves and listen to everybody and read everybody's book. So I hope to bring good people to good people to make it easier for you. And people like that a lot. And that's what I really do.
And that's exactly what you do through your show. That's exactly what you do. Tony, from my heart, thank you so much again for being a fantastic guest on the Go Legal Yourself podcast.
Kelly, it's my honor to be on Go Legal Yourself podcast. Thank you for having me as a guest. It's a lot of work. It's a great podcast. And I encourage everyone, please check out our shows. Please binge on them and give her a kind review.
Thank you. And everyone loves an English accent. And maybe you should throw in an Italian accent. Come on, finish the show with something Italian, Tony.
Molto bene, va bene. Now, Italian is como sta, Sicilian is como stai. I get confused between Sicilian and Italian. Very confused. And I have nobody to practice with. So it's kind of almost just disappeared. But it's my hands. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
There you go.
Little New York in there too.
Exactly. When I was in Italy, with my husband in 2019, I was called, so that the Italian men, they were calling me Coccobella, Coccobella.
Bella
I
means
loved it.
beautiful,
Yes,
as you know.
yes. Thank you very much. Tony, thank you once again. And listeners, you know, I am always here for you. Please download the app so you can contact wonderful, incredible guests such as Tony, and you can reach out to them directly as well. And remember, the only way you become successful is if you make today the day you go legal yourself. I am Attorney Kelly Baglet, the Queen of Business Law, and it's been my pleasure being your host. Until next time, cheers to your success.